Hello.
Sup?
So, we're going to do part 2 of how we got together. I watched it back and there was a lot missing, so that's fine. But I feel like we should talk about...
And a brief pause, shout out to those of you who already saw the first video. And
There's
thanks for watching.
600 views now.
Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that. And click that bell when you do that, when you do subscribe.
It's Friday, and like ideally on a Friday I would be more energetic, but he just picked me up from work and it was like a long, busy day. And it's kind of like a little gloomy out right now. A little bit.
It's not really gloomy.
Well,
there's sun in every direction.
No, it's like, I don't know, it's like a gray.
Hazy.
It's kind of gray.
It's hazy, you could say. Gray? It ain't gloomy though.
A little bit gray day? I don't know. Anyway, but I'm happy because I love Fridays. Fridays is my favorite day. So, I think it's important that we talk about the engagement and the like wedding, even though it wasn't a wedding. So
then what was it?
We got married. It was a marriage day.
I just want you guys to notice how bright our faces got with all of this sun that we have.
Yes, there's sun, but like it's
hazy, I think is a good word.
Okay, hazy. It's hazy. It was a beautiful day today.
You see some gray out here.
It was a beautiful day today. Anyway, so, and we talked about in our last video that we decided we wanted to get married. That was something we agreed on. So after we decided we wanted to get married, Brandon asked me like what kind of ring I was interested in. What kind of ring do you want, kind of thing. And it was something that like I think a lot of women think about and like plan, and they like have pictures saved or like have a Pinterest board or whatever. I'm not on Pinterest, never have been, don't plan to be. But I never really thought about it. And so when I started thinking about it, I looked at a couple rings and I was like, I don't really want like a traditional ring. And it's interesting because I think we in general are not traditional in a lot of things. One of them being like didn't have a big wedding ring, just a lot of things. But so I told him, I'm like, I don't want a traditional ring. That's kind of all I said. He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't want like the ring with the rock. Like that's not what, like, I'm not into that. Like I'm not very I'm not really a materialistic person. I don't think, I mean, I like nice things, but I'm not super materialistic. Like I would much rather have an experience than have stuff. So I was like, I don't want a very expensive ring, but I want a ring. It was like just non-traditional. So then I had seen this picture of this ring that didn't have a big rock. It just had like diamonds all around it. And I was like, you know, like maybe something like that, but like be creative.
Tell them the other reason why. The other reason why you didn't want a big ring.
Another reason why I didn't want a big ring. Because I don't want you to waste money on it.
It wasn't that.
I was nervous I would lose it.
Yeah, lose it, drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't something that was like super important to me.
Yeah, and specifically she said because she knows she's clumsy and she doesn't want to lose it.
That's valid.
Damage it, blah, blah, blah.
So I showed him a picture of something.
I just thought that was funny when she said it.
and then, okay, so whatever. So I barely gave him any guidance. I gave him very little guidance. And I was like, oh, figure it out. And then, so a couple months after we talked about getting married, we knew we were going to get married. So then I was just kind of like waiting for the proposal because like I knew he was going to propose officially. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And so it happened a month before we got married. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about it?
Well, what exactly should I say?
Like,
because you know I could just get right to the point.
Okay, so it happened. We had spent the weekend in Illinois, in Chicago, with his family. His family, like his close family members, knew that he was like wanting to get married, and he had like conversations with people in his family who were like, you know how your family is like, are you sure? Like you're super young, all that stuff. He was super young. He's 21, and yeah, like you told me about like what was said to you.
I mean, that much I don't remember. What was said to me, I don't remember that.
Like, people were like, are you sure this is something you want to do? You're too young. Essentially, like, you're too young for this. Like, she's great, but why don't you wait? Kind of thing. And, like, you don't remember what you said? Or, like, why did you...
No, I probably don't remember because it went in one ear and out the other, basically.
But my question to you is, like, why did you think you were ready?
I'm just looking in the future. I felt like I saw where my life could end up, could be headed. And I thought about, like, the opposite, too. Like, okay, well... And I think this is actually the question that I asked myself that made it real simple. Is just, can you picture your life without her? And do you like what you see if you can picture it? So, I pictured it. I didn't really like it. So, I'm like, yep. It's about that time.
That's so sweet. So we were driving back from Illinois, and he was like, so my family, mostly it was like the guys. It was the guys in his family. We're telling him, like, I don't know, this is really soon. He's like, but I was very confident. He's like, I know this is what I want. So we had this whole conversation on the drive back to Milwaukee about why we thought this was a good idea and how neither of us had any doubts. So we kind of just, I would say, like, we like poured our hearts out to each other. Like, it was like the final, like, we're sure this is all the reasons why, because you're this, and this, and like, we don't have to get too personal, but like, he was just everything, like everything that I wanted. I don't know, like, I just was like, I've never loved anyone before like this, or at all, really. In terms of a romantic relationship, I see myself with you. His qualities were what I needed. My dad loved him.
Yeah, we complimented each other well.
I think the biggest thing for me was, like, I've always wanted someone who was, like, having a relationship with God was as important to them as it was to me. And I saw that in him so strong, to the point where, like, I was kind of convicted sometimes, because I would like walk in the room and he would be like reading the Bible, and I'm like it was very, like, I loved it, but then I was like, dang, maybe I should be reading my Bible. So, like, knowing that he was someone who was gonna pursue a relationship with God is, like, number one, because I think our marriage works because it's God and us. So God's at the top, triangle, and then you two are here, and then the closer you get to God, the closer you get to each other. So I knew that was important to me, and yeah.
Can you show them that graphic one more time?
So here's me, here's Brandon, and Jesus is up here, and then the closer you get to God, the closer you get to each other, right? Like, that's how it's supposed to go. Like, they say a marriage takes 3, and I totally believe. If I didn't have Jesus in our relationship, we wouldn't be nowhere. Like,
I say this though, I've seen marriages or relationships too where that has not been the case, like where God wasn't, like, at the top of that little triangle that she just drew, acted out. I think so. I mean, yeah, I've seen it work out. I've seen it also, like, not work out when God is at the top and the people just for whatever reason can't make it to each other. I guess that means that they're not trying to make it towards God. But I will say this though, at least for us, whenever we have tried to get closer to God, like, as far as that triangle goes, it has always brought us closer together.
Yeah.
So.
And I think some of our most like intimate times have been when we're, like, praying together, or like when we go through something and then we need to reconcile it, and we use, like, our faith. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but it's just a big deal for me. And, like, seeing Brandon as, like, the lead, like, the head of my household, you know, like, when we have children, I want someone who's gonna
run a tight ship.
I want someone who's gonna lead them and, like, direct them in the way that I want them to be directed. I think that if you're both trying to follow a certain way of life, then it works better when you're parenting, because sometimes parents aren't on the same page, and that's hard. And obviously I know we're gonna have like situations where we might differ, but like just knowing that he wants what's best for us according to like God's word, I think is awesome.
Yeah, so that was like the decision to get married, basically where that came from.
Yeah, but the engagement was so sweet. So we were coming back home. He was like, let's go for a walk by the lake, because it was a beautiful day, like beautiful night. We went for a walk by the lake, and I was eating a caramel apple sucker. I don't know if you remember this, but I like love caramel apple suckers. So I was like eating a sucker, and we were like looking at the lake, and it was just beautiful. The moon was out, and then he was like standing behind me, and then I was still just not paying attention to him because he's like, oh, I gotta tie my shoe. And then I was like eating my sucker, and then I turned around to be like, dang, he was tying his shoe for a long time. And then he was like on his knee with the ring.
So you know what's funny? That's not what happened.
That is what happened. Okay, what happened according to you?
What happened was, I knew in my mind what I was gonna do. I had made the decision. I had the ring. I was ready to go. So I had to think of where and kind of how. Like, I didn't plan it out. Like, some guys plan it out. Like, I want to do something extravagant. I didn't really do all that.
Yeah,
I just
told me
wanted
you didn't plan it. You just felt it in the moment.
Yeah, I just wanted to have the right moment. Like, everything else I felt like would come second. So we went on a little detour. We were coming back from my parents' house in Illinois. So we're heading back to Milwaukee on the detour. We went by the lakefront. Yes, the moon was out. And while we were looking at it, she hadn't seen it at first. I think she was looking at me, actually.
Oh, I remember now.
Then I told her, oh, dang, look at the moon. It looks humongous. And it did look humongous right there. But she turned around to see it. She was amazed by it. When she turned back around, she was like, look, and then she looked down, and I was right there. I'm like, I got her.
You're right.
So, guys, I don't know how often this happens, but when your wife forgets how you proposed and you remember, you can't let her live that down. You got to bring that back up. That has to come up. That's material.
I missed one detail.
That's poster board material right there.
That was one detail of instead of...
That was the detail.
Are you sure you didn't tie your shoe while you were down there?
My shoe was never untied. I probably had on boots, like the ones with no laces. I mean, they have laces, but I don't tie them anyway, so.
I'm sorry. Well, as soon as you said it came back to me. But anyway, it was beautiful because we had just spent all this time, like, having this deep conversation, and then he proposed. So he showed me the ring, and I loved it. I was like, I was so happy. And man, you probably really can't see it that good, but it's just, there's no big like rock. It's just like diamonds, and I don't know, it's got like this curve. I just love it. I love my ring. So then I was like, oh my god, you did such a good job. So then he put it on me, and it was so romantic. And then I wore it home that night, and then I took it off because we didn't announce to the world that we were getting married or that we were engaged. We only told like our parents, like our closest friends, and like our siblings. But like we didn't like tell everybody. So I'm like, oh, I can't wear this ring because then people are gonna be like, oh, whatever, all up in our business. So we put it in the box, and then I didn't wear it again till the day of the wedding. So a month later, we got married. We decided we weren't gonna have a big wedding because number one, we were not trying to pay for that. I'm sorry, I was not trying to pay for that. I have a huge family. I know a lot of people. Between the two of us, it would have been like 400 guests. I was like, no, not doing it. Plus, we really just wanted to be married. Like, that was really important to us.
Word. So, yeah, small wedding at her church at the time.
Do you want to talk about?
I wasn't going to go, like, in detail. I mean, do you feel like that's... You got to whisper. Do you feel like that's important to talk about?
I think so. Like, I feel like it's a big, like...
Put it out there.
Deal. Okay, I didn't know if you want to talk about it. So, when we started dating, Brandon and I we both had our V cards, virgins. And so, like, when he told me this...
V card.
When he told me this, I was like... When we started dating, I was 23, and, like, that was very abnormal. Like, especially being... Just in general, like... I did not know that many people in my life in my age group that were not sexually active. And so when I started seeing him, I'm not gonna lie, like, I prejudged him in the sense of, like, he's 19, he's in college, he's super attractive. I've seen, like, a lot of girls, like, swarming him, even though he swears that wasn't the case, but I promise you it was. So I just thought, like, the chances of him, like, slim. And one day he told me that he was, and I was like, it was so like exciting for me to hear that, and I love that about him. It wasn't for me, it wasn't like a requirement of something that I needed to have, but when I found out that was the case, it was like a plus.
Mm-hmm.
So we have only ever been with each other that way, and that to me is like so special. I don't know why I thought of that, but I don't know. But yeah, so we got married, and it's funny because we got married on May 19th, and both of us had our apartments until June. Like, we didn't have our apartment together until June 1st. So from the 19th until the 1st, I like lived with him. And like, obviously, like, there have been other times that I like stayed at his place. I'm not gonna pretend like I did not. But from those days, we were like married, like we were husband and wife, and we were living in his college apartment with his 2 roommates, who I love. So that was interesting, and like we hadn't told them that we were getting married. So I had my ring on, so we came home, and I was like, just like trying to be all like, ooh, like with the ring, and I can't remember. I feel like one of the girls noticed. I feel like Elena noticed, but I was like, yeah, so. Like, I think they could just see on our face that something was going on, and they were like, what's up? And I was like, we got married. And it was so cool. Like, they were so excited for us. And then a week after we got married, so we waited a week to like announce it to the world, and then we like announced it to the world. Because after we got married, so we got married in the office of my church at the time, and it was just our parents and our best friends, Tiffany and Sean. And then we had like this really nice lunch at this restaurant. It was just us there. My dad like got it, so it was just us. And then after the lunch, we had a photo shoot in the 3rd ward. So we had a photo shoot, and we took like all these great pictures, and then a week later we posted them. We're like, we're married, we got married a week ago. And the reason why we waited a few days, like a week, is because Brandon had just graduated, and I didn't want to like steal his shine, because like graduating college is a huge deal. So people were still like on that, like, ooh, all the pictures from graduation. And I told him, I'm like, let's just wait. And he was like, I don't care, like, let's just. And I was like, no, I want you to have your moment, and then we can have our moment. So people were like, what? Like, mind blown. Like, you did what? We were only dating for a year, 9 months before we got married. So people just didn't expect it. Plus there was no engagement. It was just like, bam, we're married. And
you know what? I just remembered another part that was key to all of this, which we probably talked about in the other video.
What?
Ani and Louie.
You talked about that.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
Forget that part.
But yeah, so everybody was like, what? Like, it was a whole crazy situation. And people were blowing us up, like, congratulations, that's awesome. And it felt really nice to just be married and not like have to go through the stress of a wedding, even though if you got it and you're gonna throw a wedding, do you? Like, that's awesome. I love weddings, but like, it just wasn't what we wanted at the time, or could afford, honestly. And so we still talk about, maybe one day we'll do like a vow renewal. Originally we talked about maybe doing like a 5-year, but that's this year, so not happening. But like maybe 7-year or 10-year, we'll do a vow renewal and like do some form of a wedding. Not a big shebang, but something, because my dad wants to walk me down an aisle. Like, he has stressed that to me. Yeah. So then we lived, for those like 10 days or whatever in his place, and then we got our own place in West Dallas, our first apartment together, and it was like, I don't know, it was awesome. I love, like, I wouldn't trade getting married young. Now, granted, I was older, like I was 25, Brandon was 21, but still, like, that, to me, that's still very young. Like, I was still a young woman. And like, I don't know, it was very liberating and very freeing. Like, I feel like a lot of people say, like, when you get married, you're tied down, and I felt completely the opposite of that. I felt like, oh my God, I'm like free. It's like me and Brandon now. Like, I don't answer to like anyone else. Like, it I don't know. I loved it. Our first years of marriage were, they say like the first year is the hardest. I don't agree with that. Like, I feel like, for us anyway, first year was a breeze. Like, second year, breeze. Third year, breeze. I feel like the fourth year of our, maybe it was like the end of the third year, beginning of the fourth year. Yeah, because this is still, yeah. No, this is year 5 now, right? Yeah. I feel like until we'd been married for a few years is when we started having like marital, like, you know, just issues. And like, obviously we can have another video to talk about that, but I think you said we were gonna have a part 2, so I wanted to have a part 2, but also like I think it's important to stress how much, like, I don't know, like how ready we were and how in love we were, because I feel like we didn't really talk about that in the last video. It's not like you just meet, you date, and you get married. Like, we got married because we really felt like it was the right thing to do. There was a lot of prayer involved. Yeah.
Alright, I mean, I guess we're getting this one here. We're already at the 20-minute mark, so, you know, like I said, I run a tight ship, so...
Wait, before we end, why don't you, I don't know, like, say something about, like, being married young, because I feel like you didn't say anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically, I just agree with what you were saying, but we didn't have too many difficulties until, like, recently. So, and it's all, like, easy stuff, like, fixable things. So, I think the key probably was communication, like everybody says, but... So more so than just like communicating, like you actually gotta get to like the root of the issues too. So like pretty much like you gotta dig deep is what I think basically when it comes to like fixing that type of stuff. So once you do that, then you talk about it, then you figure out how to work something out basically.
Communication is everything.
Yeah.
Everything. But yeah. Okay.
Oh, and then, so yeah, I was also going to say, being, for me, because I feel like a lot of people, especially a lot of guys probably wouldn't agree, but being married for me is pretty cool. Especially because, like she said, I wasn't, like, running around out here just slinging it, basically, is what you could say.
Beat at that?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Me neither.
So,
ooh, we missed that part.
I think, how?
We missed the part about how we were going to, like, just be out here, remember?
Yeah, so like, okay, if we want to go back that far, just basically before we got together, before I pursued her, she was my last hope before I was just going to start slinging it out there. So,
it's just funny.
And actually our friend Chrissy, so she probably was the number one person
who you told
that I told, but that also is responsible for us being together today. That's what I give the credit to. But,
yeah. Well, I give the credit to God, but yes, Chris.
Oh yeah,
but no, yeah, and I know we're like almost to time, but like it's just important. I think that we mentioned that. I know, but like him and I were in a similar place where I was like, I had gotten like hurt by people, and like I was just like, you know what, like forget it. Like I'm just gonna do me, and honestly, like I was like, I'm just gonna be a little wild and just be out here, which. Looking back, like, that's not even in my character, but that's the place that I had gotten to, that I was just like, I'm just gonna, whatever. I don't even care. I'm just gonna, whatever. Like, it was not a good situation where I was mentally. And my friend that I told, so I told a friend and he told a friend, my friend that I told, his name is Shannon, and he was like, that's not even you. Like, that doesn't even, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm sick of guys being jerks, and I'm just gonna. So it's funny, because we were both in a very similar place, and then we found each other, and then it worked. So we never had to go down that, like, scary path.
Alright, so now we can end it.
Okay.
So we'll catch y'all on the next one. This one will probably be uploaded very soon. Maybe. So if you happen, for our loved ones who happen to see us in the same clothes, just know this video came out.
I love that jersey.
Very quickly.
I love this jersey.
Shout out to Colin for this jersey. It's a Chelsea jersey. Torres, is it Fernando Torres? I didn't watch Chelsea back then, so I don't know. Drogba is the one who got me into it. But then shout out to Nicolo also, because he always disses me every time I talk about Chelsea.
All these shout outs.
All those 2 shout outs, yeah. I mean, I guess if you count Chrissy. That's
Chrissy.
one.
Yeah. Okay,
that's
well, it's getting dark too, so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Toodles.